I've had the Ultra Superior 6 for quite a long time now. And this is actually the first time I'm making a review for YouTube about this shoe. And well, it's actually kind of an interesting shoe, especially for a minimal runner that wants a little bit of cushion in there. I kind of like it for the faster efforts and maybe the longer effort. You still get a bit of ground feel, but you still got some flexibility in there to make it feel a little barefoot. So let's get into that today. So hi, I'm Nick from Barefoot Run Review, and I like foot shaped shoes. I like minimal shoes. I like barefoot shoes. And I've tried a lot of them throughout my time. So today I'll be talking about the Ultra Superior 6. And this has actually been in my hands on my feet for quite a while, although it's actually had a bit of a hiatus for the last few months because it's not been with me. I do wish that I had it in some of the races that I did because I did want that cushioned option with the flexibility. But first of all, here is the fit. So true to Altra's philosophy, this is the foot-shaped kind of shoe. So we see that nicely squared off big toe area around here. And then also the little toe taper around here isn't too aggressive either. So that just helps your toes splay a lot more and actually function like a foot normally should. And if we look into the rest of the shoe, well, it gets a little bit more different. It's a little bit narrower through this midfoot here. I've got a wider midfoot. I can still make it work, but it's all about the depth, and I'll get to that in a minute. And then into this heel here, well, it's actually quite similar to most other Ultras again. I don't find the best heel lock in the world, but I find that the lacing system does a good job of actually keeping this on my foot. So I said the depth. This is the major Achilles heel, whatever you want to call it, about this shoe. It's a really shallow shoe. And well, if you've got a shallow foot, that's absolutely great. You've got a really good option here. The problem being most people don't fit into it because of that. And my solution has been, obviously, I've mentioned it many times before, and that's a thinner insole. Ultras usually come with about a 4 or 5 millimeter insole. I switched that out for about a 2 or 3 millimeter just to get that bit more depth. And to be honest, it's still pretty tight there. So basically, I loosen out all of these laces as much as possible to give me as much room. And well, I get the fit to be comfortable, at least anyway. Not perfect, but comfortable. The other thing to note about the actual fit of this shoe is maybe this lacing system. This is the strange kind of burrito system. So this side of the shoe all the way down here, it's not slit at all like a normal tongue. It's just got that one edge, which is detached from the upper of the shoe. So that's the burrito tongue. The lacing system, well, it's pretty similar to any other lacing system. You've got some eyelets over here, some material eyelets, and then some more traditional eyelets going through the upper material on this side. It's a little bit strange to actually get a lace lock in there. It's a bit harder, especially on either side. In the end, you can still make it work. I actually quite like this fit system. It actually works fairly well for my foot in general. And it means there's no slipping of the tongue, and this tongue doesn't slip around at all. Nice big finger loop here just to pull those shoes on if you really need that. I don't usually use that too much, but I know some people do, so you'll like that as well. And otherwise, it doesn't fit like a Lone Peak. It's not big and massive volume and big width or anything like that. But it's also not super, super tight in terms of like the Timp that we've seen recently. And it ends up being quite a good race shoe because of its fit. So let's get into that. Let's get into the feel of this shoe. So this is the 21 millimeter version of an Ultra shoe, and that's one of the more minimal versions of trail shoes that you get from Ultra. So this cushion through here, it's quite firm. It doesn't soften up too much. It's got a little bit of flexibility in there, especially in the forefoot, but you can see some torsional twist here. This mixture of flexibility with a bit of cushioning actually lends itself really nicely to being a race shoe. If I'm dancing down some rocks down a hill or something, I don't have to worry too much about bashing my heel because I've got a bit of cushion in there just to protect my foot in general. The other thing is, well, it's a bit stiffer than a bit minimal or barefoot shoe. So it just allows me to go that little bit further without my feet getting too fatigued. So really, this is my long range shoe or it is my race shoe. For you, it might be different. You might be used to bigger stack heights. You might be used to stiffer materials in your shoe. So this might be your minimal version, and that's okay. Like this will still give your feet a nice workout because there is that flexibility in there and you will have to still use your feet. If you transition into something like this from something more traditional or conventional, then yeah, just take your time actually getting into it. We should talk about the outsole here. So this is the Max Track rubber that we see from the Lone Peak as well. And this is performing much better than it did in the past. We had the Ultra Max track in the past, and that you seem to get chewed up quite quickly, quite easily. This is definitely doing a much better job at being a bit more sticky and tacky. At the same time, the lugs aren't super deep and they don't offer much grip at all. So I wouldn't actually take this out in the wet. It's definitely not a mud shoe. It's a perfect dry, sandy kind of option if that's what you need. And if we're looking a little bit more at the protection, then this toe cap, I actually really like this toe cap. The old ones used to be quite soft and didn't really do much at all if you kicked the rocks. This one's actually quite firm. So I've actually kicked a few rocks. It's not been a problem at all. I actually just end up falling instead. But my feet are still intact, which is great. Down the side, where you don't actually see much overlays or reinforced materials here. So your feet are a bit more exposed to the external world. And if you do catch anything on the side here, it's probably going to hurt a bit. And well, it's that cushioning again, because you've got that cushioning, it ends up being a good balance between ground feel and protection at the same time. One thing to note, there's no rock plate through here. So if you're used to Superiors in the past, you used to either have a rock plate in there, or you'd have a removable rock plate, a little piece of plastic, which was the same shape as like an insole, and that would slot in there. This doesn't have that anymore. And I think it's okay in this model because it has actually firmed up and stiffened up a little bit compared to the models of the past. I personally don't mind that because this is not my minimal shoe that I get my barefoot training in. This is my shoe that I need protection and I want to go a bit faster in. So I think it holds quite true to that kind of usage. Now let's look at the durability of this shoe. So I actually haven't got a ton of miles in this. I've maybe got 100 or so kilometers, and there's no wear that you can actually see on this shoe. But as with most Ultras, you do likely see specific areas that break down quicker than others. Many people find this forefoot area around the side here actually breaks out a little bit quicker, maybe this side on the inside too. And to be honest, I probably think it's going to be the same here. And well, I don't know. It is just something that you may have to deal with, and it may break the shoe a little early, which is sad, but true. On the outsole, we see quite a nice big surface area to these lugs. So we won't actually see this wearing down too quickly. And then again, I said about this cushion being a bit firmer than the past, which means that it probably won't pack out as quickly as we've seen other Superiors. So durability wise on that side, quite good. I think it's just going to be this upper material where we actually see some breakdown, not specifically around the midfoot area, but actually into this toe box and then into this forefoot area here. If you snag it on some branches or a rock, actually, it's not too bad in terms of the protection there. It's not like a super flexible material or not a material that you would catch easily on twigs, rocks, branches, or anything. So I think you're protected nicely at that point there. What it actually is probably over time, you're going to wear it down. I know one place that's actually gone in the past on other Superiors is this little eyelet loop towards the ankle side of things. And that's actually usually because they've been left in the sun or they've been in the water and then it's being dried, wet, and it just ends up cracking this plasticky kind of piece here. To be honest, it's not the worst in the world. You can actually just use the other eyelets there and your fit isn't going to be as good. But at the same time, we don't want that breaking too early. So it's just something just to keep an eye on. If you're drying your shoes, don't dry them directly in sunlight or at least for too long. And if you do get wet shoes, we'll just try and air dry them out a little bit more carefully. So in conclusion, so this shoe is definitely for somebody that likes to feel the ground, but has a bit of protection in there. It's probably a really good shoe for somebody that's looking to do some drier trails, some faster efforts, maybe up to the half marathon kind of efforts. If you're someone like me that likes minimal shoes, well, you could just go for ultra efforts in a shoe like this. The fit is going to be a problem for some people. If you do have very deep feet or you need quite a lot of volume in the shoe, it's a no-go really. Just don't try it. It's a very shallow shoe. If you do want to give it a try and maybe you've got a more medium volume foot, a little bit like mine, just put a thinner insole in there and you'll get just enough space. And if you've got a shallow foot, awesome, great, it'll be fine. The other thing is just to keep note on this midfoot round here. It's not the widest in the world. So if you have got that super, super wide foot, then maybe this isn't going to be the shoe for you either. Again, if you're in the middle of that range or you're in a slimmer side, you're going to actually get a really good fit out of this, especially considering you're going to have quite a nice toe splay in there as well. And then as for durability, it's a It's on the cheaper end of Ultra shoes. I think it's $120. That's pretty good in general. Yes, it's not going to be the most durable shoe in the world, but at the same time, it's probably one of the better ones in my opinion. So it's been a long time coming, but this is my shoe of choice for longer distance races, and you might like that too.